Afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Axon Bulletin. Tuesday afternoon, Champions League Tuesday, Lawrence. We're back. It's games thick and fast just now. The manager yesterday hailed the team having a positive mindset. You and I have definitely got a positive mindset going into tonight. We're both looking forward to getting along to Celtic Park, as I'm sure many people are in the comments. Please, if you are on, comment, get them in. We've got plenty to talk about today. Looking at this game against RB Leipzig, we've obviously got the game against St Johnstone at the weekend, and we've not been on since last week's match in Germany also. So we can refer to that. There's also been other stuff happening in the Celtic world. But Lawrence, how has your week been since I've been last on? It's been a bit of a disappointing result out there in Germany, and we returned and we get that last gasp winner up in Perth against St Johnstone.
Got to love a last gasp winner. Listen, the week's been good. Disappointed we didn't take our chances again in the Champions League. Get a bit of golf in with John Fallon on Friday up at St Andrews, so he was in good form. Thanks to Joe McGarvey of Swindon Shamrock sorting us out a few tickets for tonight's game. And obviously the sad news about Frank. I suppose, it was just completely out of the blue. Obviously, we've done a few gigs with Frank, and he's the manager of the football greats of the Celtic team, obviously. And he's just a cracking all-round character, Frank.
Yeah, I don't know if Amy and Colin yesterday managed to touch on it. And by the way, I just want to say on here, I think all of us in Axom were very, very proud of Colin and Amy yesterday, especially Colin, for discussing mental health in such a way personal to him and raising awareness for it. But everyone at this point in time wishes Frank McGarvey and all his family the very best just now. And also, I think everyone at Axom sends their very best thoughts and wishes out to the 10 people who were tragically killed in Donegal over the weekend. We're thinking about them too. But back to the football, Lawrence. It's a big game tonight, and it also almost feels kind of weird just because there's so many games coming thick and fast. That last gas minute up in Perth came only a few days ago, 3 days ago to be exact, and here we are again with another game to play. But I'm looking forward to this one. But we've had a chance to play all teams in the Champions League. We're back at Celtic Park after 2 difficult away games, and I'm really hoping that we can get a result tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we touched briefly on it kind of before we went live, but the performances up until putting the ball in the net in the Champions League have probably surpassed our expectations. We should have beat Shakhtar, arguably a draw against Real. And Leipzig, we had plenty of chances there as well, so we need to start taking a higher percentage of our chances. But, I think Matt Riley was out saying that. But the football that we've been playing, by and large, has been pretty decent in the Champions League. We're not getting embarrassed. We're showing that we can create chances. It's just now about taking them.
Yeah, when you think back, obviously in our last group we had PSG, Bayern Munich and Anderlecht, but looking at that, 2 big clubs, we didn't have the best of results against both of them. But I certainly think from what I've watched so far in the 3 games under Ange Postecoglou, we've got a Celtic team that are competing again in the Champions League. You can see that we're making that inroads forward. It's just about taking that final step. But again, yesterday, I was fortunate enough to attend the presser. On behalf of Celtic here, Axon was also represented by Natasha, and we've got plenty of stuff out there on social media if you've not had a chance to look at the press conference. And the manager talks, Lawrence, again about chipping away at it, about it being he didn't call it a slow process, but that's what he was referring to, and that it's not an overnight fix. But he keeps reminding the players that they need to have this positive mindset to chip away at it, and that, to put themselves in the best place that they can, which they will eventually get the rewards for.
Did you know what this reminds me of? I suppose 7 or 8 games into last season's SPL, people were saying, this isn't working. The manager needs to change. We weren't quite getting the results, and then it just clicked. And I think that's how the players need the experience and the belief at this level, and it will come. Ange is right, because with the same critics in the media saying that Ange absolutely not good enough, and the manager's in trouble here. But it takes a bit of time to implement a style, and I suppose as you got the levels, it's there's a change to it, isn't there? So the players just need the belief here, and I think first goal is crucial. If you get the first goal, it lifts the fans, and who knows, from there, you just want to build on it, don't you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Ange Postecoglou keeps referring to building this big, beautiful house. And I was nearly going to go into talking heads here, Lawrence. You know, big, beautiful house and a big, beautiful car. How did I get here? Yeah, David Crines came in here to say we'll take our chances tonight and put on a show. Hopefully we do. Lawrence, you know, Ange Postecoglou yesterday touched on he would be a lot more concerned at this point in time if we weren't getting into the areas and creating chances at all. That would be his biggest concern. So we can see that we can get into the areas to get the chances. It's just about taking it. And I know it seems probably to lots of Celtic fans as if we're repeating ourselves, but again, the players and the manager are reiterating this because it's been the story of our group stages so far. But as you say, you know, against Real Madrid with the great chances early on, didn't take them. We got punished. Against Shakhtar, we probably could have won the game. And, you know, the manager speaks last week about the game in Leipzig, talking about going into this self-preservation mode. I think he described it as a survival mode. And it's just about having that belief. And I think that belief comes from, you know, getting a goal and then pushing forward, not doing what we seen last week, getting a goal back into the game, then just being, you know, overly cautious and conservative.
Yeah, it's to having a belief in your football. I mean, David, one of our viewers down in Nottingham, I know him and his sons tune in on a regular basis, but it is just about having a belief. And listen, Hackšabanović, you know, another good game under his belt. James Forrest, you know, a nice cameo. Carter Vickers back in the team. So I think we're in a good place getting into this. It's just getting that first goal, a wee bit more belief. And when the group opened, let's be honest, it's your home games you want to win, isn't it? You know, we'd have thought Leipzig away, yeah, maybe a draw. You know, when it first came out, you'd have hoped to have picked something up against Shakhtar away, but your home games are the ones you definitely had to win. We win our next two home games. We're on 7 points. You know, to see how the rest of the group do. But it should be 7 should be enough for football after Christmas, shouldn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Whether that is the last 16 of the Champions League or whether it's the Europa League, which is by no means a disaster. I think that the biggest thing that Celtic fans want to see this season is improvement in European football. If we can get out a Champions League group and drop into the Europa League, I don't think that is a, you know, whatever you want to call it, downsize or whatever from where we were last season. It's about building a process under Ange. And this, you know, he talks about that so much and so frequently that, you know, keep playing our football, have belief in ourselves, and we will get the rewards that we do deserve. And a few people in the comments believe that tonight. Scott coming in here to say we can beat them, but carelessness will be our undoing. Stay switched on, Hale. Absolutely. Focus is key tonight. Lawrence, you've mentioned Hackšabanović, so let's start with him. We see him at the weekend come into the team. He plays, you know, at the top of what you could call a diamond or whatever you want to call that, midfield three. But we'll get to the person at the bottom of that trio later on in the show, and Matt O'Reilly. But Hackšabanović, we're seeing his versatility now. We're seeing why Ange Postecoglou wanted to sign him. He can play across the front three. He can play in midfield. He's a definite starter for me tonight, and I was really, really impressed with him at the weekend.
Yeah, I think technically he looks very good. He's a threat going forward, and he has that versatility that a lot of our players do, which should make it, you know, easy to switch position during the game and harder to pick them up. So, yeah, I like Hackšabanović. I think it's going to turn out to be a cracking signing for us.
Yeah, were you impressed by his versatility? Because, you know, we've read a lot that he does tend to play on the wing, but at Rubin Kazan and during his time in Sweden, he has played that role, and he looked fairly comfortable there. He was always shown for the ball, and he was most definitely my man of the match at the weekend.
Yeah, I think O'Reilly's needed a bit of competition for that role at the top, isn't he? And I think, I'm not too sure Turnbull's been given him it. I think he's been a bit off it this season so far. So I think Hackšabanović is definitely putting a bit of pressure on. So, yeah, definitely impressed with him. You know, transfer window's fast approaching. Who would we bring in? They'll probably bring in another striker, centre-half, but Hackšabanović, yeah, I think he's been a good addition and he fits well in Ange's style of play. But we could say that about just about everyone Ange's. You know, he's signing players that fit his style, isn't he? That's probably why it's working so well for him.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think that was one of the biggest issues that Brendan Rodgers had in Champions League football, was it we were trying to play a style of football, and the personnel just wasn't there, and we got what we deserved ultimately. Just to come into the comments here, Brown Warrior, usual Tuesday contributor, coming in to say that he said after the draw, 79 points attainable and also a good return for the first season back at the top table. I would totally agree with that. I think it's all a step-by-step process. The manager's certainly focused on one game at a time, and that's the way to look at it just now. And Lawrence, as you rightly say, we've got 2 home games left to prove we deserve to be at that top table. I think I've seen enough so far this season to say that we can compete at this level. It's about really cementing that and showing that we do deserve to be there. If you are in the comments, please give us your thoughts on Hackšabanović. Where would you like to see him tonight? Would you like to see him in midfield, or would you like to see him up top? And give us your thoughts on his performance at the weekend. Lawrence, let's go back to the defence. We see Cam Carter-Vickers come back in at the weekend, and you could just see how steady a presence it comes to the Celtic defence. I know we conceded late on in the game. It's a deep ball. I think it was always coming. I says that to the people I was at the game with, that the goal was always probably coming, that they eventually get.
Was it?
You know,
with VAR not chopped it off?
I don't know. I really don't know.
The unblockable Andy Considine's get when Giacomakis down being shut. If that goes to VAR, you would expect it to be chopped off. But
unfortunately, we're still in a position where we don't have VAR, and we're not going to see that until I think it's the end of the month now that they're saying. But I thought, on the balance of the game, just the chances that St Johnstone were getting, I thought they were going to get a chance, and they took it. We got the part and do it, but I thought Vickers looked good at the weekend. You could tell that we missed him. Do you think that the captaincy, he would have probably had that captaincy last season if it wasn't that it was a lone player last season?
Yeah, no, he's far and away our best centre half, and he just exudes confidence, and I think that feeds right across the back four, and maybe even to Joe Hart there a bit. So, yeah, great to have him back. Especially for tonight. Bernabeu, I thought he'd done okay. We're talking about, is that the position that Taylor doesn't have any competition for? Well, some cross at the end, wasn't it? I thought he had a good showing, but on the game at the weekend, we could have had a penalty. An elbow to Hatate's face is only a yellow card. You could go on and on about the strange refereeing and linesman decisions. But then again, we were speaking about that last week on Tuesday. Is that maybe what Tuesday? We should have just had 10 minutes. How bad the refs are.
Maybe get Dermot Gallagher on a Tuesday or something, because he seems to correct every bad decision that they make each weekend.
Look at the handball. The boy jumps up, handles it. I know Giacomakis would be good through it, but run away from goal. But that linesman could see a Celtic player, an inch offside, but he couldn't see a clear handball in there like that. You've got to wonder.
You do have to wonder. I actually remember Liam saying to us last week, who lives out in Japan, that his wife had said to me, well, why does Rio wear a gum shield? And I think that one at the weekend clearly identified why Rio Hatate has a gum shield on.
Do you know what it reminded me of? Remember the elbow in Tierney against Aberdeen?
Yeah, the Cosgrove one in the cup final.
The boy looks round then elbows him. And strangely enough, though, if he did decide that was only a yellow card, have a look. Elbow a Celtic player in the face, yellow card. And we've had it again. There's not, Hatate was my tip for player of the season, but he's not getting a lot of protection out there. Last week, it was a late tackle high up, studs into his shin, straight leg. It was a free kick, but no card at all. I thought it was a red card. 2 games in a row, players could have been sent off if he'd been given any type of protection. Yeah,
no, I totally agree with you in that one. It was a really terrible elbow. And as you've already rightly pointed out, if VAR was in place, it'd actually be interesting to see whether it would be given, because, you're referring to interpretation there of incidents that were looked at afterwards and still weren't clearly defined as, red card offences. So, interesting. We'll see what happens. But we've seen the top man in the SFA come out today saying that it's going to cause chaos. I don't really know how to interpret that. What does that mean? But
what's his definition of chaos? It'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Look, listen, VAR, other countries use it. It doesn't cause chaos, but in Scotland it would cause chaos.
Yeah,
why?
I wonder. Yeah, well, there's a question to ask yourself. But as we were saying, Cameron Carter-Vickers, I expect him to be partnered by Stephen Welsh tonight. Would you agree with that? Just to answer this comment in here, he's asking about Moritz Jens. He was ill at the weekend, but Ange Postecoglou did confirm yesterday that Moritz Jenz is back. He trained yesterday, and David Turnbull's back. Both out of the weekend are back in the squad.
Depends how fit Jenz is, how much is taken out of him, I would say. I'd probably expect Welsh. I don't think Jenz will be quite there in terms of fitness, but I think Welsh will be. Just him and Vickers having just got 90 minutes under the belt, I think he'll go with him.
Yeah. I actually thought as a partnership they looked okay at the weekend once again. Welsh and Vickers, it's something that we saw against Aberdeen on the opening day of the season. I know it's a completely different level playing Aberdeen as RB Leipzig, but I just think whoever you put in there, as I think I said this last week, if you or I probably went in beside Cameron Carter-Vickers, we'd feel assured and would probably look half decent.
Yeah, but it was like the season,
maybe that's over the top.
Denayer and Van Dijk, Denayer looked amazing, but he was next to Van Dijk, and I think, Cameron Carter-Vickers, you just get that certain influence, isn't it? People just know their jobs then, and he just looks, he's far and away a best centre half, isn't he? And it's a question of who out of the three play for him. I thought Welsh could have done with a season on loan and getting lots of minutes, but he's starting to get minutes for us. You touched on it, the opening game of the season, got a goal as well. So who knows? He maybe take his chance now that it's there for him. It's up to him to make the jersey his, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's good that there's competition in there. Carol Starfelt, who's an integral player to Celtic, will know that when he comes back, that there is a challenge for his position. Although I do think that is still the manager's preferred centre half pair, but it is important that there is players in the squad getting game time. That was something that I asked him about yesterday. And he did say that, he could see that there was a lot of guys needing game time, one of them being Alexander Bernabe, who we will get on to because I think he deserves a bit of a chat around him. But Lawrence, Callum's came in here to say that this is what he believes our back line will be tonight. I'm in total agreement with it. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would go with that as well.
That's Hearts, Juranovic, Carter, Vickers, Welsh, and Taylor, just for anybody that's maybe listening and they catch up with the Spotify or something.
That back four have got a bit of experience playing together, so I'd go with that. You don't want to change it up too much, do you? You want a solid base, so I'd be going with that. I don't think that there's going to be. I think Taylor definitely comes in. He's had a rest. Bernabe, good showing, great cross. I think Juranovic is just ahead of Tony, although Tony's shown that he's still fighting for that jersey. I think Juranovic is just a wee bit ahead of him. And at centre half, Cameron Carter-Vickers has got to start, and I don't think Jens will be fit enough to give the 90. So I'll go with that.
Yeah, Alexander Bernabe, impressive. I thought at the weekend. First half I thought it was very, very good. He looked really good with Jota down that side. A lot of nice interchanges between both of them. A great delivery at the end of the game. I actually thought his game dropped off a wee bit in the second half, Lawrence, when Jota went off. But again, he's adapting to this inverted fullback role. It's something he's not done all too often, and he's coming in. He's trying to adapt to it. Taylor, Ralston, and Juranovic have all got very used to it. It's getting Bernabe up to speed with it, and I think that 90 minutes at the weekend will do him the world of good. When you've got so many fixtures coming up, looking towards maybe that Motherwell game next week in the Cup, that'll be another chance for him to, say to the manager, I'm here and I'm challenging Greg Taylor once again, because that was the position that, Taylor was a stick on and there was absolutely no challenging.
Yeah, let's say he's definitely a football player. He's not afraid to play football in the Ange way, is he? He was comfortable passing it about the back and playing his way up the park. Taylor's got to know he's got a wee bit of competition now, which can only be a good thing. I think still get Greg's jersey, but it'll take him a wee bit of while. It seems to be settling in now, and we've got to love that cross at the end. It was just fantastic, wasn't it? Just begging to be put away. Yeah,
and let's go at the man that plays the ball to Bernabe, because I know you've been waiting on this probably since Saturday afternoon. I know you're a big fan of his, and I must say he looked very trim when he came on at the weekend. I know there was chat towards of the window, whether it was just transfer speculation or whatnot around James McCarthy's future, but a great run to get that ball to Bernabe, and he came on. Also noticed that when he came on in the game, Matt McGlone I was out with yesterday was saying when he came on, he was organising people in the park and using that bit of experience that he's got. fair play to him. And in this next batch of fixtures, there's no reason why James McCarthy can't be, St Ange Postecoglou also with Callum McGregor being out, that I'm hearing them available to be selected.
Yeah, there's a jersey there up for grabs, isn't there? Yeah, he showed desire to win that ball. He got his pass away and then was fouled after it. But a great cameo from him and another James, both of them. Added a wee bit when they come on. So McCarthy's been here a while. Yeah, he's in the kind of tail end of his career, but I don't think he's got any desire to go anywhere. He's a Celtic fan. He loves being here. I think he's done his time out of the country. So yeah, we're going to need him this season. Maybe we needed him last season. I think it was Dundee United. He got injured against, wasn't it? He was unlucky with injuries. There was a studs up challenge into his shin. It was let go again, not sending off, but that put him out for a bit. So he's been a wee bit unlucky with injuries, but his experience is going to be invaluable this season.
And I think, again, a wee bit of game time would do him the world a good. And also, as I say, I think, the cup games are a good chance to do them. I've did that previously, getting up with Dingwall, making a lot of changes in the game. We're starting to see that rotation. I expected rotation to happen at the weekend, and he did do that again. And it's just about getting these players up to speed and looking at them, because the manager wants a strong squad, but at the same time, Lawrence, you do need to get minutes into players' legs. You can't have a strong squad with only 15 or so players getting the game time.
Yeah, I mean, the players need to be kept sharp. You don't want to be calling on someone that hasn't played for months. That's not what you want. You need people that are integrated into the style and playing at that level. So it's good to see players getting games, and Jamesy Forrest, that was a Jamesy Forrest of old. But for a strange offside decision, he'd have been 1-1 with the keeper.
There's a lot of strange offside decisions at the weekend, weren't there?
Yeah, and that linesman just couldn't see a handball. Fair enough, it was only, 7 foot in the air or something. His hand when it was touching it. How was he meant to see that? It's just baffling at times. But I'm sure VAR will come in and sort this chaos out of these strange decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And yesterday, the manager says that James Forrest is most certainly his thoughts. I do imagine he'll be involved in the squad tonight. I don't think he will start the game, but you never know. He could come on, and he's proved it at this stage before. I saw somebody mention that Ajax game. I think that was the last time Celtic actually won at home in the group stages of the Champions League. So it's a chance to correct that wrong tonight. I think he was the only player that was involved in that game, probably, Lawrence. That'd be correct.
He's got he's got a lot of experience, hasn't he, James? And maybe that's what we've needed. That I thought there was maybe a wee bit stage struck against Real Madrid. Just not taking our chances. So we might need that experience tonight. He might be coming off the bench, but he definitely looked up in the middle of the weekend and back to the James Forrest of old. So. Yeah. It's good that he's in contention, especially with we don't know how fit Yota's going to be, so that there may be space on the wing for him.
There could be. I don't think that'll be from the start. I think there's probably other options there that the manager will be thinking about. But listen, he's certainly going to be in contention to be in the squad, and I think he will get some game time tonight. I know he came on at the weekend, and he came on over in Leipzig, so interesting one. Brian Walsh came in here to say Bernabeu's given Ange food for thought after this performance on Saturday. Could James McCarthy have a role to play at some point tonight after his cameo on Saturday? Lawrence, for me, that's all down to where Celtic probably find themselves in the game tonight. At the weekend, probably was baffled to see us, bring on what you would likely define as 3 defensive midfielders in the game, and James McCarthy, Aaron Moy and Oliver Abelgard. Not that James McCarthy looked like a defensive midfielder when he sprinted to get that ball and play it through to Alexander Bernabeu, but it's a reason why, and it brings us on nicely to Matt O'Reilly, that I think the manager might be tempted to play O'Reilly in that holding midfield role just due to how quick he wants our football to be once again tonight.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I suppose, what makes Callum the best 6, isn't it? Is the speedy changes the transition at, isn't it? And maybe that's why we'll start with O'Reilly. But McCarthy and Moy both have experience quite a number of games as attacking midfielders, don't they? So it's not a position unknown to them, although obviously certainly McGarvey's more known as defensive, and Moy more recently has been a defensive midfielder. But the players that can play that attacking role. Tonight, I could say Abelgard looks a player, but I don't think he's going to be fit enough to start. So I think it is going to be probably between McCarthy and O'Reilly for the number 6 position.
It's an interesting one because at the weekend when the team came out, I wasn't sure, whether it was the same structure that we were going with the 4-3-3, whether we were going to a 4-2-4, could be all that attacking players in the park. But when you saw the game start to progress in the first 10 minutes or so, you could see that O'Reilly was kind of playing that role, which is something that he'd said he'd previously played at MK Dons and Fulham, and he enjoys playing in that role. But I think, as you say, Lawrence, it's very difficult to replace Callum McGregor, but something the manager might just be thinking about is the speed of transition from back to front, which is really, really important to the way that we want to play football.
Yeah, definitely. And tonight, for me, it's between O'Reilly and McCarthy. Probably O'Reilly, is he's got more minutes in the legs, isn't he? And he's more embedded in the team. But it is that pace of a transition that the manager's looking for. But I think there's a toss-up between those two. Abelgard, when he gets fit, I don't think he's fit enough. I think he probably goes in at 6 ahead of both O'Reilly and McCarthy. But from what I've seen, the glimpse, he looks like a cracking addition. It's just how close to fitness is he? So I think it's O'Reilly again at number 6 for me.
Yeah, I agree. Just to bring in Brown Warwick here, because he's been the person that has corrected me very properly throughout this with Callum McGregor, to say it's a deep line playmaker role, not a holding midfielder. It was what O'Reilly described it as yesterday, but it's absolutely as a playmaker. And I think, as I've already mentioned, it's really, really important to the way that we play football, which is why I think he will be tempted to play Matt O'Reilly in there in that 4-3-3. Because that was what the manager said. I think one of the questions put to him yesterday was trial and error playing him in there, and he says, if it's trial and error, I don't really know what I've been doing, because I've watched a hell of a lot of football and nothing's really trial and error. So yeah, it was a 4-3-3 at the weekend. Absolutely, O'Reilly played that role in there that Callum's been playing, and I thought it looked okay. Lawrence, what was your take on it? And again, I don't think he's a player that's hit the heights this season like he was when he came in January. And maybe, taking that wee step back to playing the 8, 10, whatever you want to call it, might just do him the world of good.
Yeah, wee bit of freshness for him. I thought he'd done well. Yeah, I thought he looked. And, Lex Hackšabanović play in the midfield as well. So you touched on it. I really hadn't hit the heights. Didn't think there was enough competition. I didn't think Turnbull's particularly done it when he's had his chance. So with Callum, we need to find an answer at 6. Trial and error. Hey, geez, I wonder what they meant by that. Because what would count as a trial? 10 minutes in a game, 90 minutes a game. Who knows? But as you touched on it, he's played it before. It would suit him. It would allow O'Reilly and Hackšabanović in the midfield as well. And I think that's a midfield trio that would suit our style. It's an attacking midfield trio, isn't it? They can all play football, all get a goal in them. Yeah, we're at home. Yeah, I'd stick O'Reilly in there.
Yeah, yesterday he said, with the atmosphere and stuff at Celtic Park, he says that after his taste of that against Real Madrid, he said that you feel that you can run a few extra kilometres when you're out there playing. One thing that will be key though, Lawrence, which is something we did too often last week, and Ange spoke about this, was needlessly going backwards, which is something Michael Ross is coming in, he's saying don't pass back to Hart, but it wasn't just Joe Hart that was getting the ball back to him. And Ange Postecoglou's came out after the game saying that he saw a mistake coming, whether it was Joe Hart or somebody else. We did needlessly play the ball backwards too often last week, and we did abandon the style of football that we've played so often. And it will be important that O'Reilly tries to have a similar impact in the team that Callum McGregor would have in that, which he's already admitted he can't replace. We know he can't replace him, but he needs to have a big game in that role tonight. And if he doesn't, that's where my fear is, because there's a real step up going from denying Nicky Clark and co at the weekend to Timo Werner and Kunku and Andre Silva.
Was it Nicky Clark with a flag on the sideline?
It could have been his uncle for all I know.
Mate, you can imagine what John Fallon had to say about Joe Hart's.
Remember, it's only 1 o'clock. We can't have that till after 8.
I would say sometimes you just need to clear it. But no, it's a style of football, and I suppose that was the point on the...
It could be the holy goalie phoning you there to tell you again.
But no, it's a style of football. The point was it's a deep line playmaker. It's not a defensive role. It's not defensive passes that we should be playing. You know, we should be looking to punish the other team. That's what we need to do, isn't it? It's kind of... So, yeah, we need to keep that belief in our football. And hopefully at home we've got more of a belief. You know, we've got the fans behind us. There's a bit less pressure on you at home, I think. You know, the fans... hopefully have a negative effect on Leipzig and lift our players to a different level.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree with you on that one. John Hill's came in here to say that he worries about Leipzig in the counter-attack, but we can't be too open tonight if we are not putting chances away. And I think, you know, that kind of goes into Lawrence. We're not a team that are designed to protect a lead, which is something we tried to do last week, and it's why Leipzig picked us apart. But we got that goal. We did go into a survival mode, playing those needless balls backwards. And just with the way that we shape up, there's always going to be gaps in our play, because I think Ange Postecoglou has decided as, you know, I think not Ange necessarily described it as, but it's, you know, it's high pressure football with a high risk, with a huge reward. But we're not a team that are set up to protect a lead, which is why I think Brown Warriors came in here to say that, you know, bring McGarvey on to shut up shop if holding a lead. I'd agree with that. But that's changing the personnel. If we're keeping the same personnel in the park, you need to continually play your football and have belief in your football.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a lack of belief. Once you start thinking, oh, we're not winning this, we're going to drop, you know, your belief's dropped. You're inviting another team onto you, and we're not particularly, you know, a big team, shall we say, defensively. We don't have a lot of play, you know, out of the three that we're chatting about starting, you know, O'Reilly, Vitati, Hackšabanović, you wouldn't say they were kind of three players that you'd have on to hold a lead in your midfield, would you? To stop the other team from playing. It's really about us playing and doing what we should be doing and creating chances. So, yeah, they just need to keep that bit of belief. It was disappointing seeing them drop, but, you know, Leipzig were very good. Well, don't take it away from them, you know, but we need to keep believing that we can create as many, if not more, chances than them. But,
yeah,
you know, McCarthy want to hold the lead. I think he's more defensive than O'Reilly, but, you know, he can still do his bit in attack as well, as we saw at the weekend. Yeah,
and I think this is a good point, again, coming into Brown Warrior in this one, that, you know, if we are maybe looking to hold on to a lead, I don't know if that's what he's meaning by this, but you might be looking at, you know, going to a double pivot to be defensively better without losing, you know, our type of football, absolutely. You can still play two holding midfielders, whatever you want to call it, and not want to play the ball backwards, which is something that we did all too often last week.
Ange has had a season in Australia playing a double pivot for a season and won the league with it. So, yeah, we know it's something that suits his style of football. But, you know, we've got the personnel to do that, haven't we? You could see McCarthy and O'Reilly playing a double pivot, and that, depending how the games will go on, you know, that's either Hackšabanović or Vitati off them. But, yeah, we've got the personnel to do that. But I don't think we'll start with it.
Yeah, I'm going with O'Reilly in that, you know, number 6, whatever you want to call it. We'll call it the Callum McGregor role. I think Matt O'Reilly will play in there, and I really hope he has a big performance, because he'll know himself how much rides in this game. I think the players, you know, are probably sick of the old cliches now, Lawrence. If they'd have only taken their chances and blah, blah, blah. I think tonight could be the night that Celtic put in that big performance that's needed in the group. Just to go back and see Hackšabanović, do you expect him to start in midfield tonight, or do you think he will be playing in one of the forward positions? Because Ange seemed to like that. I think
he'll start. I'd start him in midfield. Yeah, I mean, my trio would be, you know, O'Reilly, Rio, and Hackšabanović in the midfield. I would start that. I don't know how close Jota is, so you know, and then maybe go with Maeda. I'd probably put Jamesy on from the start with Giakoumakis through the middle.
Well, that's an interesting shape. We'll get to the forward lines very, very soon. But it's an interesting one. And, you know, when you look at that midfield, I always think that Postecoglou does stuff for a reason. And playing that midfield at the weekend, I think was done for a reason, Lawrence. I think that maybe was a good sign of, getting the spine of the team down in terms of your two centre half pair, and that midfield probably was a good indication of what was going to play tonight if all fit and available.
Yeah, I think so. He'd want to get minutes, maybe not trial and error, but he definitely want them to get minutes together, wouldn't he? And have a look at it and say, yeah, prepare, boys, because we're going to need you in the Champions League. They were creating enough chances. I don't know if the linesman's eyesight had been better. We'd have had a few one-on-ones with the keeper.
Celtic deserved to win. Celtic deserved to win the game on Saturday, no doubt about it. And once again, we could have been well out of sight. The penalty incident that you mentioned, I think, is that the one with Maeda that you're talking about with the handball? Yeah. I think that's around 50 odd minutes. Again, going on about the rules, if that's maybe given Celtic score the penalty, it's a different game. But Celtic deserved in the balance of play to win the game. And again, we've made changes and we've won a game of football, which is important. It's all about, building towards something and taking it one game at a time. Jonathan Brown's came in here to say that he would start Georges Giacomakis and Hackšabanović. Let's go to the big Greek striker, Lawrence. Now, one of the things that Giacomakis, I think, thrived from last season when Kyogo was out was having that constant run of game time. Do you think that's something he needs to be on form? Because at times, he's taken that really well at the weekend. I've read his comments after the game, but much like, Kyogo at times this season, he has been wasteful in front of goal.
Yeah, listen, they're both getting minutes this season, but it said it itself, he needed that goal. I think he'll be high as a kite just now, won't he, after scoring a last minute winner? I think you've got to start with him. He leads the line well for us. Yeah. Kyogo would get minutes at some point, but for me, after scoring a last minute winner, start with the big man up top. Yeah,
it's an interesting one because, Kyogo's been the main man up top for Celtic this season. He's on the bench at the weekend. Whether that was a rest, I think it would have been. You will see him feature tonight, but I think there could be potential to see both of them in the starting lineup tonight, Lawrence, just due to the fact that, after Giacomakis gets that late goal, I don't understand why you probably would take him out of the team after that.
Yeah, I'll keep it in because of that. If you're going to start both of them, you talk about put Kyogo out wide left. I know he was more of a left winger before in Japan before he came to us. You've turned him into a striker. It's what would you do? But yeah, I would start with Giacomakis up top. The problem is if you start both, what's your options? Up front then, isn't it? Because I think we're light in the striking department. It's something I'd like to see us add to now. Be looking just now for another striker to add out the winter transfer window.
Yeah, there's plenty of people coming in here. Michael Ross, another one to say start. GG, Ridiculizer coming in to say no chance he starts both. Well, I'm just thinking the balance of this, that, Kyogo left out at the weekend, obviously given a rest. I don't think there's too many Celtic fans that would say that Daizen Maeda's form going into this game has been where you'd probably expect his level to be. I imagine Liel Abad starting the right-hand side. If Jota is potentially, out the game, could Ange Postecoglou be tempted to play Kyogo on that left-hand side? I know he's not did it for a long, long time, but he can press well, like Daizen Maeda. And if that's the game that he's wanting out of him, and Giacomakis through the middle, could it be something? Do you think it's something that could be in the manager's thoughts at least?
Well, I thought Taylor'd get a lot of pressure put on at left back, so you're then going to look at how well Kyogo tracks back, and I don't think he does that as well as his defensive side. I don't think is as good as Maeda's. I don't think it's as good as Jamesy Forrest. That's why I'm saying, if Jota's out, it could be a chance of starting Jamesy from the beginning. But yeah, if you're going to start both, I think, where does your change come? Because we know Ange likes to change it up. How do you freshen up your striker then? Where does that leave you late in the game?
It's probably putting one of those guys through the middle, or Daizen Maeda probably coming on, which again is a really good point, because then you're leaving yourself without that option, as you say. But it's going to be interesting because, when you look at it, I don't know why Kyogo, but like I'm thinking in the same mold as Taylor and Juranovic at the weekend, he's been left out to start this game tonight. But how after scoring the last gas winner, even I know a lot of people saying his performance wasn't great in front of goal, do you probably take Giakoumakis out? Because it's much like a bad against Rangers getting into Real Madrid, isn't it, Lawrence? Where he was undroppable getting into that game.
I think after the last minute goal, you've got the player's going to be full of confidence. I think you could say it about both Kyogo and Giakoumakis. Neither of them have hit the heights of last season, have they? So none have been particularly brilliant in front of goal. But yeah, for me, it's Giakoumakis. Last minute winner. You've got to start him. And, Kyogo will be fresh for coming on second half or, whenever it is you make that change.
It's an interesting point, and it's one that, I think Ange Postecoglou just hasn't did it for so long that he probably wouldn't do it. But it could be something that's in his thoughts maybe for later on in the game too. So in terms of the front three then, Lawrence, apart, you've said about Giakoumakis starting, who else plays up there with him? Is Lee Alabada one of the other players?
Oh, so it depends if Jota's fit, is it? Who's going to be fit to play? You'd like to think, if Jota's not fit, I'd probably be going James A and Lee Alabada.
Right, okay. With Abada on, are you playing Forrest in the left-hand side if that's the case?
Yeah, play him on the left to cut in. Yeah,
I think he's wasteful when he plays out in that left-hand side, which I think is why he looked a lot sharper at the weekend when he came on that right-hand side. I just don't think he's got the game time and he's up to speed to play a Champions League game at all for Celtic at this level. I think Abada getting those minutes under his belt. Maeda's obviously played a hell of a lot more football than him. If it was a straight, probably Forrest would be down the bottom of my pecking order for wingers to start tonight.
He just looked really in the mood when he came on. He's
he did, no, absolutely.
He's got the experience at this level, which is something we maybe lacked, in the games that maybe we would have lacked to be better belief in front of goal. So you're looking through a team and going, who's got experience at this level? Callum's out. Joe Hart's got a fair bit of experience at it. And you're starting to struggle then. So I think, he's not going to be overawed by, if a chance falls to him.
Yeah, I just think if he maybe had more game time under his belt, it could be one to consider. I think you'll see him feature. But I'm probably coming more round to the idea that if Jota's not fit, he might play Maeda on the left-hand side. I think he probably still starts Kyogo tonight, even after Giakoumakis scores that last-minute goal. I think he'll end up playing Maeda, Abada, Kyogo again tonight.
Maeda, he's a manager's favourite. His stats are good. Although people are saying, look, he's not done well. He's not done a lot wrong. His numbers are still up there. So yeah, listen, I think Ange will start Maeda, but I wouldn't mind seeing James get a start. Maybe I'm thinking back, too sentimental, but we need a bit of experience on the park, especially at this level. We don't have a lot in the team just now.
Yeah, and I think this point for Kevin Burner, he said he wouldn't leave Kyogo at the starting 11. I just don't think it's something that Ange Postecoglou would possibly do tonight. Just looking at the game, although I do think Giakoumakis played very well against Real Madrid, and sometimes you do need that kind of physical presence up top and something maybe drop deep for the ball. But again, we were talking earlier on, Lawrence, about O'Reilly and the style of football that we want to play. If we do go, full throttle and go right at RB Leipzig, Ange Postecoglou is going to want players like Kyogo and Diaz-Maeda in the team to go and do that.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to want players to press, players that can play off the shoulder. Listen, Kyogo does it brilliant. Ange, I think, Kyogo and Maeda, he probably will start him because he's two of the favourites. Would I start him? No, I'd definitely start Giakoumakis. Without definitely start after a last minute winner. But I think Ange will go with Kyogo.
Yeah, there's a lot of debate on this one. I think there's a lot of people with that idea that you're saying, Lawrence, or Giakoumakis, but Postecoglou can be ruthless at times, and I think Kyogo is one of Ange's preferred options, and I just don't think he leaves him out if he's fully fit to play tonight. And obviously Giakoumakis gives you a great option off the bench. But again, we'll go into Diaz-Maeda here. I thought last week, I think I said this last week on here. It's a Celtic style of football that is set up with a player like Maeda to go and press defenders, and then in games like this particularly get back and help his fullback out, which he's very, very good at. And I know a lot of people are talking about his return in front of goal, assists, goals, which is what they expect from a forward player. I think Postecoglou looks at him a lot more differently from probably what a fan is looking at Daizen Maeda, just from what you get from him in his game. And I'm talking about Celtic in full throttle. That suits Daizen Maeda's game, and it's something we didn't do enough last week. That when you maybe look at the game against Shakhtar, how we started that game, he would have been the perfect player for that, because he'll get in defenders' faces and he'll make them make mistakes.
Yeah, it keeps the pressure on. He's got some engine on him. He does what the manager tells him to do. And that's probably why Ange will start. He can be relied just to follow the manager's instructions. Defensively, I think him and Taylor work really well together. He covers up. So, yeah, I think Ange will start him.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Maeda, Kyogo, Abada, that's some amount of pace in a front three, absolutely. And again, Lawrence, would you agree that is just down to the structure of football that we play? The manager has a real impetus on that, and if we do, go out of belief in that style of football, that's probably why he would be tempted to go with that front three of Maeda, Kyogo, Abada. I think if Jota is out, we're doing this all because we don't know. And going by Ange Postecoglou yesterday, he said it's not uncommon for a player 2 days after a match to not be in training. He was in Lennoxtown probably doing some work himself, and it was, as Ange Postecoglou put it in his way out the press conference, the nature of his injury is down to a muscle injury, fatigue, and being far too good looking. So with all that in mind, do you think there's probably still potential that Jota plays?
Listen, there's definitely potential that he could play. Would I prefer him to start? Probably. Yeah. If he's fit, probably prefer him out on the right. He gives a lot to the team, doesn't he? So yeah, I prefer that he plays. But if he doesn't, at least we've got options. And commentator, he said it's some amount of pace up top. Most of our forward players are fairly rapid, aren't they? It suits Ange's style of play to have that. Although James is getting on, I'm pretty sure he beat me and you in the rest, mate. Even if he gave us like 10 yards, gave us a starty. What do you reckon?
They definitely would.
20 yards in a 30-yard race.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I know we've had a ding dong on here with Patrick, but before about James Forrest, but there is a reason why there's been so many managers through the door at Celtic, and he's still continually there, and they all speak highly of him, whether it's what he does in training or whatnot. But listen, if James Forrest comes off the bench tonight and scores a goal, I don't think anybody will be moaning about his performances, and that was something he did well last season, was big moments. He could still come in and do that, whether it's the game away to Livingston when he seals the deal, or that goal against St Johnstone in the League Cup semi-final. So he still has a part to play here, and he's still a Celtic player. And if it is him coming off the bench to win us the game against RB Leipzig, I don't think anybody will be moaning about James Forrest. We're going to say there, Lawrence?
I was just thinking, how do you think Leipzig are going to be looking at the game? Do you think they'll set up a wee bit more defensive? Because they've got 3 points now. They know this is must win for us. Do you think that's going to affect Marco Rosa saying we'll sit and try and pick them off in the break? Yeah,
well, that's something again that Brown Warrior comes into talking about. They're talking about Celtic the break here, saying if Maeda's pace gives you the option of a quick counter, if a team is pressing us and it gives you a big space to run into, with no one catching them. We're talking about me and you not being able to catch James Forrest. Daizen Maeda would get to the pub, order the pint, have it drunk before me and you turned up there. So,
wait a minute. You've just brought the pub in, and that's a bit extra motivation.
Well, sure. maybe for you. Well, sorry, maybe as I don't know if Daizen Maeda's a big beer drinker like myself or you, Lawrence, but yeah, certainly with Leipzig, I don't think it draws any good to them, and they will be looking at wanting to get second place in the group. That was their first 3 points in the table. Shakhtar are not out of this yet, and I know last week from watching them against Real Madrid had a lot of chances against Shakhtar but didn't take them. And there's no reason why Shakhtar won't be up for this game again tonight. So it's going to be interesting looking at it. But I do think Leipzig will come here and try and play their game once again. I don't think Marco Rose is the manager. Like Ange Postecoglou, probably abandons his style of playing, his structure.
Yeah, Shakhtar's the only team that's kind of ahead of where they thought they'd be in points, I would say, at this time. Real Madrid's where they thought they'd be. Shakhtar are ahead, and I think both Celtic and Leipzig are where they thought they'd be in points. So, but Shakhtar's the team that they've got to catch. They're not going to catch Real Madrid, so they're ahead of us already. So they might be looking and going, take a point, keep ahead of Celtic, and it leaves us, Shakhtar and Real to play. So they might be going, we'll do better at those two games than Celtic will, because they might be say both will lose against Real, and Leipzig might just fancy, beating Shakhtar on a bit of revenge. The manager's changed since the opening day. And they'll be looking at us and going, well, if Celtic are 2 behind us after this game, they're probably going to get beat Real Madrid, probably beat Shakhtar. It just comes down to head-to-head in Shakhtar, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so,
no, absolutely.
I could see them playing a bit more cautious and saying is, well, Celtic do leave a bit of space, let them come on to try and pick us on the break.
Will McMillan, come in here to say that Leipzig will come to win, which may suit us. Would you agree with that, Lawrence? Because I thought last week they looked like a really good side. I know Marco Rose is still early on in his tenure at RB Leipzig. They're a long way from the Tedesco game against Shakhtar. But listen, I think Celtic made them look an even better side than they probably are last week, just with the way that we did go into survival mode. It's the buzzword that we're using, that self-preservation mode. But when you do let a team play around you and play good football, they will look better. But there was times in the game last week we certainly gave Leipzig a run for their money. And if we can keep that concentration, focus and belief tonight, there's no reason why we can't turn them over.
Well, I think they'll come to win, but it's what tactics they use. They don't need...
They're also without their goalkeeper, I think, tonight still.
Second choice, he'll be in. So I think that they'll know that a draw will suit them better than us, and that we really need to press for it, which they then might say, well, look, we're going to have to press on. Let's try and pick them off. Who do we think's weak at the back? Carter Vickers just back after injury. Will they fancy, singling out Welsh, putting a bit of pressure on him? Maybe. Yeah, you know what? They know Callum's out, that normally patrols the front of that defence really well for us, covers the ground. So they'll be thinking, listen, that there might be a wee bit more space than usual to pick them off in the break. I think it's a tactic that you might be looking at.
What was your thoughts, Lawrence, on Leipzig as a team last week? I don't watch them too often. I know talking to David Slate, who watches a lot of German football, hasn't been overly impressed by them. I know Marco Rose has had a bit of a mixed time in German football as of late with Dortmund and his time at Gladbach. But what was your thoughts on them?
Probably a bit like us, better going forward than they are at the back. So I suppose third goal was really classy goal. Got lucky with one of their goals. It's gifted to them on a plate. But technically they look sound. Quick team. But should be. It's nothing that we shouldn't be looking to beat. A team of that standard. I think we should be. Play football, and we should be confident in creating enough chances to beat them.
Yeah. I don't know about yourself, but I thought I saw enough at times in Celtic's performance last week to say that we could get a result against this team. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, especially first half. I suppose it's maybe kind of a microcosm of the Champions League group so far. It is just about taking our chances, isn't it? We had the chances to take, and you get 1 up, 2 up, it changes games. We don't take our chances. You're always going to leave yourself vulnerable to last minute equalisers like we did at the weekend. But if you don't stop, you can always score in the 95th minute. But it's kind of, I think we should be looking at beat Leipzig, and I really think we do need to beat them. I think second place in the group, I think that's maybe Shakhtar's for the taking now. They'll fancy that. Just now. I think third's maybe kind of more in reach for us. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but we'll just see what happens. I'm certainly excited to get along to Celtic Park tonight to see how we get on. Just in terms of this, Lawrence, I think there was a wee bit of a storm last night in social media after Marco Rose's comments. He spoke about Celtic Park being a venue that was fun to play at. And whatnot, and Michael Ross has come in here to say that Celtic Park has become a ground teams enjoy playing at. That's something that I think quickly needs to stop. I know there's been debate around people applauding Luka Modric. Ange Postecoglou praised the Celtic support for doing that. Whatever your thoughts are on doing that. I personally didn't. I applaud Luka Modric off the park, but I don't think that there's any doubt that Celtic Park needs to become a fortress once again in European football. It's 2013 was the last game in the group stages that we won at home in the competition. Our last win in the competition, been away to Anderlecht 5 years ago. Obviously, we've had spells that have been out the tournament, but it does once again need to become a fortress, and this can be a night that begins.
Well, I said it needs to become a fortress, but I clapped Modric off the park. I can remember clapping Liam Brady's Juventus off the park, PSG off the park. A number of times. But there's a thing about enjoyable to play at. You hear players talk about you've got to sample that atmosphere. It's enjoyable. But they also say it gives the Celtic players such belief. You don't need to make it a terrifying place for the opposition to come to make it, I suppose, difficult to play in. Because it's what it does, the relationship between the team and the fans, how it drives the team on. Is it Ferdinand said he could hardly hear a shout from other Man United players on the park? They were kind of looking at each other and going, what have we got into here? Because this is loud, this is some atmosphere. That's enjoyable but difficult for them to play in. Whereas maybe throwing, glass bottles at players or something, at goalkeepers, would make somewhere not enjoyable to play at and dangerous. It's not so, I suppose that's the other side of the spectrum, and I wouldn't like to see us going towards that side of the spectrum. So I think, it can be enjoyable for opposition players to experience that atmosphere, and just say, this is unreal. Look at the back of these fans again. I mean, Tony Cruz says it felt like we're 2-0 down. He still enjoyed playing in it, but he said, that first 30 minutes, it felt like we're 2-0 down because of the atmosphere. But it was still enjoyable for him. So, but I suppose that's at the end of the 90 minutes. He's able to say it was enjoyable. But it doesn't need to be the other end of the spectrum. What I thought, I don't have any problem with people clapping good players that have put on a cracking performance off the park. I suppose a bit of respect for the sport.
I want Celtic Park to be intimidating, like Paddy says here. I hope that tonight we can make it that, and intimidating in the sense, Lawrence, that they come to play a Celtic side that's difficult to win against. And that's what I'm hoping for, and I think that can start tonight at Celtic Park. And Callumson has only one way to make it a fortress, and that's winning games at Celtic Park regularly in the Champions League. But again, to bring this comment in here from the Urban Culture, to say I've always said next season is the one we will make an impact in Europe, standing by that, but very hopeful we'll be playing in Europe after Christmas. I totally agree with that. Also, in terms of, if Celtic finish third in this group, we've still got 3 games to play, obviously. It's by no means a disaster. And I think we don't want to just see that progress happen after Christmas, Lawrence, especially get that hoodoo offer back at Barcelona game being the last knockout tie we won after Christmas.
To be honest, I don't worry too much about these hoodoos that I suppose are championed by the Scottish press. They'll go with whatever statistic they want. It
annoys me. It does annoy me.
Yeah, things championed by the Scottish press, and what was it? Ange has it. If we didn't beat St Johnstone, that would have been 1-4 and stuff. You're like, behave yourself. I think the team's learning and progressing at this level. We need to start turning performances into points, though. We need to start taking a bigger amount of our chances. Hopefully that starts tonight. But looking at the Champions League so far, I don't think we've disgraced ourselves in any of the games. We've shown that we can give a good account of ourselves. It's just now about starting to take a bigger percentage of your chances. We've had 2 away games. We've now got, 1 home. We've arguably played the hardest team at home. So, win tonight, win our next home game. The table looks a wee bit different.
Yeah, it certainly does look a wee bit different. We'll just need to see how we get on. I think it's all about belief and just try to be in control of our, our own destiny, or whatever you want to call it tonight, Lawrence. I know Ange can be very philosophical with words and all that stuff, but I think when you look at it, there's a team there that can perform at this level. We can see that from parts of our game, absolutely. It's just about having that belief in each other as a team and as a collective to go and do what we're used to, stick to our guns and go for it. The manager, I'd read in the press this morning was saying that, if those players do go and show that belief and have faith in themselves, for anything that goes wrong, he's quite happy to take responsibility for them. But he certainly doesn't want to see them abandon what they worked so hard on, because the structure at the club is so clearly defined, and by not following that, you're only setting a trapdoor, as our tagline says, for yourself.
Look, listen, he trains them and coaches them to play in a certain style, a certain way, and he can't have them abandon it when it gets tough. I mean, there was calls at the beginning of last season, 7 games in, Ange needs to learn, Ange needs to change. Well, you know what? He didn't change. He stuck with his philosophy and gave us a really sweet title win, and he done it in some style. So it's the players just need to have that belief, that it can continue at this level.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks as always to all our usual contributors this afternoon. Your comments are always welcome and appreciated. If you are in the comment section, please do like the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And you can vote for Axom in the Football Content Awards. The link is down below, and you can also vote for Natasha for the best in women's football. Lawrence, enjoy the game tonight. To everybody else getting along to Celtic Park, have a great time, and hopefully here's hoping for a victory.
What do you reckon, 2-0?
I'm going to go 2-1, just like the last time 4 years ago. I'm going to go 2-1.
I'll go 2-0 then. I'm hopeful Big CCV's got that solid platform again.
Well, we'll see what happens. There's our thoughts. Enjoy the game if you're getting along tonight, and hail.